Feliz Año Nuevo. Aquí estamos en el primer mes de 2020 en la Unidad 5, and I'm going to start with a little explanation of what's coming up. So you'll notice when you open when you open your class, you'll click on your class and you'll go to classwork. This is very important. I think some people are not clicking on classwork and they're just seeing the stream here and things might look a little confused. But if you click on classwork, it lines everything up beautifully. Over here to the left, you'll see all the topics. See each unit in the order that I've placed them. The most recent one being Unidad 5, which is right here, El Medio Ambiente y la Naturaleza. So if you click on, once you've clicked on classwork, you'll see here the Unidad 5 and then all the things that are lined up in order of when they're due. Notice the due date over here to the right of when everything is due. If you scroll down a little, then you'll see the midterm, you'll see the Unit 4 lined up here, etc. So if you ever end up on a screen that looks like that, just click on classwork and it lines everything up for you, including the due dates. So if we go to the very first thing that I've put in here, calendar and initial information Unidad 5. You click on that, and I have some instructions about not waiting until the end of the month when you get to 5.5 in the grammar. You need to start working on the grammar immediately, which I've put it here, what you need to be working on, and I've also put it under 5.5, which is the grammar when you're going to take your grammar test. It's kind of the unit test. It's here as well. So you've got it in both places. I put it at the beginning to remind you that you need to start working on that right away. The calendar is also here for the upcoming unit. Second semester, we're only going to have 3 units, and then the final. The first semester, we had 4 units in the midterm, so now we're only going to have 3. Part of the reason for that is because we're starting, a week after January has already started, so we've lost the first week of January, and there are more holidays in second semester, and then I know you guys have a lot of testing at your base schools. There's so many things going on the last month in May that we really have less time to work on things second semester than we had first semester. So the units will not be contiguous with the month. Last semester, Unit 4 or Unit 1 was in August, Unit 2 is in September, etc. In second semester, Unit 1 will bleed over into February, and then Unit 2 will start sometime in February. I haven't gotten that on the calendar yet because I haven't posted it yet. But as soon as I post Unit 2 in the middle of this month of January, then you will see a new February calendar, and the new February calendar will have due dates for Unit 2. So Unit 1, you won't finish Unit 1 until the first week of February. So let's go back over here to the calendar. Your first due date is the vocab cards in Quizlet, which are due on the 13th. So you have this whole first week of January to be working on your vocab cards and also to be working on the grammar, which I just pointed out right here. Yeah, this grammar business. So let's talk just very briefly about the grammar. I know that a lot of you had trouble with Unit 4, where subjunctive was being introduced and explored. And I believe I mentioned subjunctive is a tense that we really don't have. We use it in English, but it's very limited, and we don't even really change the conjugation of a verb because we don't have as many verb conjugations in English as you do in Spanish. So the subjunctive is quite a difficult tense. It's difficult to wrap your head around when to use it, how to use it. It's quite high level. These units are more or less introducing the subjunctive. You don't have to have mastered it, but you do need to understand it and understand when to use it. The two subjunctive tenses or modes of subjunctive that we're going to explore in Unit 5 are using it in adjective clauses and using it in adverbial clauses. Now, that sounds very complicated, but at the end of the day, I could go into an explanation of how they work, but that's why I've included these two YouTube videos, because they do a great job explaining how to employ it, when it needs to be used, etc. I also mentioned here to use the weirdo chart from the previous unit. So if you go back to Unit 4 and you look at that chart that I put in there, there are lists of trigger words and trigger expressions that will indicate subjunctive needs to be used. But these videos they do a great job. I put two videos because, like I said, it is a difficult tense, and it's very important that you watch the videos and then that you do these Quizlets or these quizzes and practice activities to help you begin to master this very difficult tense. I put a little chart here, a little image that I got from Google Images on subjunctive clauses and with adjective clauses using subjunctive. And once you've watched the videos and you look back at this little chart, this little picture here, this will make more sense. Now that I'm looking at this on my small laptop screen, this is very tiny, but you can always download this document and enlarge this picture, or just go to Google Images like I did and find some images for subjunctive and adjective clauses. So I'm going to move this down to subjunctive with adverbial clauses. Here you have some trigger words that will indicate that yes, you do need to use the subjunctive tense. Again, very important that I've given you a lesson you can read, and then this video explanation, and then a quiz. I recommend you do all of those, because if you don't, there's just no way that you're going to understand what this tense is, how it works, how it's used. Going on down to future tense is super easy. Or you should have already mastered the future tense when you combine. It's kind of present progressive future tense, or not present progressive, that's not right. The formula where you use the verb to go, ir, plus a plus infinitive. For example, in English, we have two ways to express future tense. We can say, I will go to school tomorrow, or I am going to go to school tomorrow. Both of those indicate future. One is perhaps a little more definite than the other. I am going to go to school tomorrow. It's kind of like your plan that you're planning to go to school tomorrow. But I will go to school tomorrow is more definitive, perhaps. I'm not sure what word to use there, but it has a little bit different nuance. Spanish has the same two future tenses. You could say, voy a ir a la escuela mañana. Voy, which is, of course, I go. A ir, voy a ir, I'm going to go. A la escuela mañana, I'm going to go to school tomorrow. So you've already worked with that tense. Yo voy a ir, él va a ir, nosotros vamos a ir a la escuela. We've already used that tense. You learned that one actually fairly early on in your Spanish experience. And here is a different tense, and I equate this tense more to the I will go to school tomorrow. This is a very easy tense. because really all you need to do is learn these endings. And if you'll notice, it's the same endings for all three verbs, all three types of verbs, the AR, ER, and IR. That's unique because there is really no other tense that has the exact same ending for all three types of verbs in Spanish. So once you've gotten control of these endings, you can form future tense. So I will speak is hablaré. So you could say hablaré español bien cuando termino la clase de español 3. So I will speak Spanish well when I finish Spanish 3. Again, I've got a lesson you can read. I've got another lesson that you can read. I have a YouTube video over it. And then there's this test that you can practice if you have gotten mastery of it or not. And down to comparative. There's a lot in this unit. So, work through all of this stuff because it's a lot to get your head around. And some of this is repeat. You've seen it in the past. Now we're doing it again. The comparative in Spanish, it's just like, try to equate this with English. When we say, I have as much water as you, it'd be yo tengo tanto agua, tanto, because agua is el, it's masculine. So yo tengo tanto agua como tú. I have as much water as you. It's kind of like this as in English. Then if you use it with a verb, let's say that I run as fast. No, I run as much as you. So yo corro. Corro is the verb here. Yo corro tanto, so like as much, como tú, as you. I run as much as you. Then with adjectives, I run as fast as you. Yo corro tan rápido como tú. I run as fast as you. Or I speak as quickly as you. Quickly there would be the adverb. Yo hablo tan rápido como tú. So it's basically just a question of memorizing or mastering these little formulas. Many people say it's tan como, because that's as fast as quickly as much as, excuse me. Then you have a lesson here, you have a video, which I try to do that for every single concept that we introduce. And then we've got the formulas for comparing unequal things. And that, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of overlap between these two. But this would be, for example, John is more studious than Jane. All right, so Juan es más estudioso que Juana. And then the opposite would be John is less studious than Juana. John es menos estudioso que Juana. There was something else I wanted to mention here. As much as many as. There are a couple of irregulars, just like in English, when we say, you've got fast, faster, fastest. That's the fast is the adjective, faster is comparative, fastest is superlative, which we're going to talk about in a second. Then we have in English good, better, and best. So good and better, those are two totally different words, but they all mean the same thing. I mean, they're from the same, I guess, concept. In Spanish, you have some words, some adjectives that the same thing happens with, like mejor, better, bueno, mejor que, and el mejor, which is a little tricky, but the lessons here will talk about those as well. Then we'll go to superlative. Superlative is in English when we put